Go.
Hello, my name is Ron Henshaw, and this is my video for secondary and life health education, where I will be teaching a lesson to my family, who in this video will be my students. I will be talking about communicable and chronic diseases. Bit overview, what I'll be teaching about these types of diseases, the symptoms, how to treat and prevent them. Little slide to give a visual overview. As I said, chronic diseases, their examples, effects, resources for students. Same thing for communicable diseases, a short video for everyone to watch, and for both sections, a Q&A where I will be asking my students some questions, and then I'll be asking them questions, and then they'll be answering. At the very end, I'll give a brief summary of everything that we went over. All right, let's do this. All right. Hello, class. Today we'll be talking about chronic and communicable diseases. First off, what is a disease? What is a chronic disease? A chronic disease is a condition where it usually starts off longer than a year and cannot be cured, it can only be treated. According to the AHA, roughly half Americans are affected by chronic diseases. That's around 133 million. In the United States, more than 40% of school children have at least one chronic condition that they are diagnosed with, and 7 out of 10 deaths in the United States are caused by chronic disease. Some examples of chronic diseases. This includes diabetes, asthma, epilepsy, heart disease, cancer, and obesity, along with many others. Common chronic conditions in children and young adults. 9.5% of students between the ages of 15 through 17 suffer from asthma, according to the CDC. Over 350,000 people under the age of 20 have been diagnosed with diabetes in America, according to the American Diabetes Association. 0.6% of children between the ages of 0 to 17 have active epilepsy, so that means that they currently have seizures on a regular basis. Diabetes is a chronic disease where the body produces little to no insulin. 8% of the population in the U.S. is diagnosed with some form of diabetes. These types of diabetes include type 1, type 2, and gestation diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is a condition that you're born with, where your body produces little to no insulin. Type 2 diabetes is form of diabetes that is developed later on in life from poor nutrition, lack of exercise, etc. Gestational diabetes is a usually temporary form of diabetes that occurs during pregnancy, where the body still produces insulin, although the body does not react to the insulin. The effects of diabetes have on your body is the pancreas will fail to create the insulin, and this will wreak havoc on your metabolism. This can lead to extreme complications such as heart disease, increased risk of kidney disease, as well as affecting your hands, feet, along with many other things. There is prevention and treatment for it, though. People with diabetes, regardless of the type, usually have to take insulin or other, usually oral, medications. People with diabetes, regardless of type, also have to monitor the food that they intake, as well as increase their activity in order to prevent any further complications. Asthma. Asthma is a chronic condition where the bronchial tubes inflame, which makes it harder to breathe. It is extremely common, especially in younger children, but symptoms can reduce with age to where once a person reaches adulthood, they show little to no symptoms of active asthma. In some cases, though, asthma may not develop until they're an adult. Asthma requires triggers in order to have an asthmatic attack. These triggers are usually exercise, smoke, and stress. The effects that asthma has is that when triggered, it makes breathing incredibly difficult, and this can cause a ton of problems, and in extreme situations can lead to hospitalization and sometimes even death. Prevention and treatment people who suffer from asthma are usually prescribed an inhaler for emergency situations. People who suffer from asthma also have to heavily monitor things such as their heart rate, their activity, their environment, and their stress levels in order to not provoke an asthmatic attack. Epilepsy is yet another chronic disease where abnormal electrical signals in the brain can cause lack of control over the body and lack consciousness, also convulsions. These are called seizures. Epilepsy cannot be cured, only treated, and seizures can hopefully be prevented. It can develop in anyone, at any age, at any point in time. Triggers, flashing lights are usually the biggest trigger when it comes to epilepsy. The biggest effect of epilepsy are seizures, which can vary from very minor seizures that usually last like 1 to 10 seconds sometimes. These don't usually require any medical assistance, and usually after the seizure the person is usually fine. To even large seizures, which can last to minutes. These ones are really extreme, have a lot of convulsions, and almost always require medical attention afterwards to make sure that there is no internal or external bodily harm. Prevention and treatment. One of the biggest ways that seizures that can be prevented is limited exposure to those triggers that we said before, flashing lights, sometimes even loud sounds mixed with flashing lights. So stuff like concerts, or some video games have those labels on the front of them. When someone is having a seizure, especially ones with lots of convulsions, the biggest thing you can do is call 911, and also remove any objects from the surrounding to limit external damage to them or anybody else. Some resources for students who suffer from chronic conditions. These include teachers, nurses, in or out of schools, advocacy groups, CDC, the American Diabetes Association, American Epilepsy Society, and the American Lung Association. Now, I have a few questions for my students. First, what is a chronic disease?
A chronic disease is a condition that cannot be cured and usually lasts over a year.
Correct. What is the difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetes?
Type 1 diabetes usually starts around birth, and type 2 is something that happens later in life, and it's usually because of poor diet and lack of exercise.
All right. And can one of you give me one example of a chronic disease? Any of the ones that we've talked about? Yes?
Epilepsy and seizures.
Epilepsy and seizures? Exactly, great job. Now we move on to communicable diseases, also known as infectious diseases. Communicable diseases are diseases that can be treated and potentially cured in some cases, and can easily spread from person to person. Examples of these diseases that affect school children are influenza, common cold, and as of lately, COVID-19. There is another type of infectious disease, and these are STDs. STDs are most prevalent STDs in high school students are chlamydia, gonorrhea, and human papillomavirus, also known as HPV. And half of all new STDs that occur every year are from people aged 15 to 24, so high school students to young adults. Although every infectious disease has their own special, unique signs and symptoms, a lot of them share similar general symptoms. These symptoms can include fever, coughing, fatigue, diarrhea, and even muscle aches. Some more facts. In 2018, children aged 0 to 17 had an incidence rate of 9.3% for influenza. It is also estimated that 1 billion colds occur every year in the United States, although that is a rough estimate. And also, lastly, strep throat accounts for 30% of sore throats in children in the US. And now, we'll go through and watch a short video